Members of the OG Army, get those wallets unfolded. Coming up next on the OtherGround live stage, prepare for an eargasm by Passive J and Big Dalton.
Well, good afternoon, and welcome to yet another edition of OtherGround Live. I'm Passive J. That's Big Dalton over there. Say hello, Ryan.
It is June the 17th. It is a Wednesday, and cash rules everything around me. Cream, get the money. Dollar bills, y'all.
Dollar bills, y'all, indeed. I see the OG armies forming up in the chat box. Always good to have you guys here. How did your day go, sir?
You know, another long day. Apparently your gay went very well, based on your Freudian slip. But how you doing there, Jay?
I'm doing fucking horrible, dude. I am unhappy to announce that Jay not smoking pot did not happen at all. I've been fucking miserable all day. My stomach's really goddamn bad today, and I didn't even consider not smoking. I wanted to get something to make me feel better into me as soon as I got home. But other than that, the day itself was actually not too bad. Day at work was busy, but I don't mind busy. It makes the day go by fast, and no major incidents or anything like that. I just been fucking miserable all day.
So what did you eat, or were you stressing out about, being Jay?
I think I was just stressing out about being Jay. I've eaten nothing in the last 48 hours that I have not eaten all the time to give me problems. So there's nothing new or anything like that. And okay, guys, we're gonna get graphic here for a second. I know you guys don't like me talking about my health things, but this is gonna get more graphic than you like. So if you guys want to take like a 2-minute break, now is a good time to do it. Okay, I've been shitting blood all day.
You should probably be going to a hospital.
No, as it turns out, that is just one of the wonders you can expect from certain forms of IBS. That plus the fact that I have an internal hemorrhoid. I've looked it up and Googled it. It's more common than you would think, and as long as the blood is bright red and fuck yeah, is it? It's nothing to be concerned about health wise. It's just something that happens. It can happen if you have an anal fissure, if you have an internal hemorrhoid, and apparently certain types of IBS, it gets so inflamed your lower bowels that you'll actually bleed from them. You only have to be concerned about that when it's like a dark red, which means it's coming from further up in the system, and then you can be an indication of things like ulcers or tumors or things like that. But no, this is just the joy that I get to deal with it when I have a really, really bad day.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go with no. It's never okay to be shitting blood. I can say I've never had that happen in my life. I've pissed blood from taking like a few really bad kicks to the kidneys, but that's about it.
No, let me rephrase that. It is fairly common and normal for people that suffer the things that I have problems with. So it's not life-threatening or anything like that, although it was enough blood today to kind of worry me, but apparently it's not a big deal. And that's all I want to talk about that. I apologize, guys. I promised we weren't going to talk about my health shit every single fucking show. It's certainly not right at the top of it. So let's go ahead and move on from that. Shit, Dalton, what do you got today?
Nothing compared to shitting blood. But some interesting statistics are coming out. It's probably good that some people are getting back to work because in the month of June, 31% of people missed their property payment this month. So whether it be rent, mortgage, anything like that, 31%.
Wow, that's ridiculous.
That's not fucking good.
Wow. To go back to the chat box, Sly, I don't know how much. It seemed like a lot, but it's hard to say. It doesn't take a lot of blood in water to make the water look bloody, so I don't know what the amounts are. But goddamn, 31%?
31%.
Wow, and next month will probably be worse because we're only just now starting to get back into it. So if 31% missed last month, all 31% of them are going to miss this month, plus an additional percentage of how much bad it's getting.
Possibly. And all this time, Congress is, still sitting on their hands as far as getting more money out to people. and the extra $600 a week or whatever it was for unemployment, that runs out at the end of July.
Yeah, and unless you've already been on it from earlier, so then it might run out earlier. And plus, all that shit is taxable, so I'm not sure how many people are taking that into account. And I sat down and did the math. I'm pretty sure the wife and I, between the two of us, are going to owe about another $2,500 in taxes, more than we normally do. So we're trying to take every measure to have that in the bank once tax time rolls around. But all these people that are fucking not making their mortgage or rent thing, well, obviously they're not saving away for their tax shit. So come next March, April, fucking shit's gonna get pretty fucking wild, I guess.
I think it's actually going to be August that shit really kind of hits the fan. So for the most part, almost every state, and I don't know if they did this country, I don't know if this was in the relief bill that they did, but virtually every state has like eviction protection through the end of July.
Right.
But
I see what you're saying by, yeah.
In New York City alone, there are 50,000 eviction notices ready to go.
50,000. Now, New York City is obviously a very large city, but God, that seems a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
so
it is one of the largest cities and millions of people live there. But yes, just in New York City alone, 50,000 have already been filed and are basically waiting for that moratorium to be lifted.
And so that means, and those aren't reversible at this point, is it? I mean, like, I suppose if the renter went in and paid all the money back, that they probably lift the eviction notice, but obviously that's not going to happen, right? Because these people were not paying their bills for a reason. They didn't have the money.
Exactly. Unless these people all of a sudden were able to catch back up before this actually goes through like the court system, which it will, like in August, and I'm sure processing that many is going to take into like September and possibly even like October. But yeah, think about that. Like, it's not like the economic situation is just magically solved for these people.
Right. And even for all these businesses that have opened up now, they're not opening up at their normal rate. They don't have their restaurants can't have half as many people in there, and carryouts aren't going to cover all of that. So a lot of these businesses are not operating with as much profit as they were before, anyways. And when businesses don't make money, people don't make money. Businesses can't pay out wages that they're not making. So shit, man, it just seems also fucking bleak. And this is before all the protests and all this good stuff, which obviously I understand why they're protesting, but in certain cases, a lot of these rioters are fucking shit up in cities that don't need their shit fucked up right now. So, I feel horrible for any kind of businesses that have been disrupted by the rioting, because, they weren't doing well in the first place because of the whole COVID thing.
Well, surprisingly, some of these businesses would all, and I'm not going to say that, like, if this was your business, you would think of it as a good thing, but some of them, it actually will end up bailing them out in the end, just based on the insurance and being able to kind of, at some point, just kind of cut their losses and be like, okay, at least I'm getting paid out for this entire thing, and I can kind of walk away, as opposed to having to, have all these maintenance costs and everything else that's being sunken right now because I can't conduct a normal week of business.
So you're speaking of the businesses that burn and things like that, their insurance payout.
Right. The other ones, if we're talking about like restaurants are absolutely screwed. So your average restaurant only runs at, generally when you're eating there, like a plate of food, generally their markup is only going to be, like, when it's all said and done, like 15%. So if you're telling them they can only work at, say 40% capacity, like, they cannot pay their bills at that level.
Yeah. I'm lucky enough that I work someplace that's not trying to make a profit. Certain areas of the country club are designed to lose money, the dining room being one of them. To give the image of value, so they're not ordering really stupid expensive meals like they should be if they're actually paying for it at the price that they should. So the country club is obviously not going anywhere because rich people are not going to let it go under. So we're very lucky in that aspect. Some of the servers there, on the other hand, are kind of fucked because no one's coming in for dining. We're having carryouts, but carryouts doesn't, equal all the business that we do in regular dining. It's a large restaurant with a large outdoor section and all this good stuff. I know for a fact that we're not doing any business because all the cooks and people in the kitchen tell me they're bored out of their fucking mind. Now they get paid regardless, so it's not that big of a deal. But all of our servers um, are getting fucked. They're getting something called non-tip wages most of the time. They don't make a lot of money hourly. They make all their money off commission, like tips. The country club has a standard 17% tip for, actually it's a 20% tip, a gratuity in all of their meals. 17% of it goes to the wait staff, 3% of it goes to the back staff, like the busters and all that good shit, or something like that. But I know the wait staff gets 17% of that. That doesn't sound like a ton, but the meals, while they're not as expensive as they should be, are certainly not fucking cheap. And most of the servers make more money than I do a year. So I think most of them are, if they're working the entire season, are probably making around $50,000 a year, which for someone who's a wait staff, that's pretty fucking good. Which is why we have had the same wait staff, some of them in the range of 15 or 20 years now. There's no place else they'd rather go to. It's kind of the top of the food chain as far as waiting goes. But not this year. This year they're getting whatever their little pitiful hourly wages for, because they're not hitting their bare minimums to even make that.
Yeah, it's pretty fucked.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel lucky that I'm in one of the positions that, unless the country club is closed down permanently or just closed down for the season, they always need somebody to answer the phones. And so well, at least I got that going on for me. And because of all the reservations that are needed for everything that don't normally need them, like the pool, I'm actually busy as fuck. One of the new things that they have me doing is we have menus that normally go in these like nice holders. They're still printed out on paper, but they're printed out really nice paper, and they only replace them as they get dirty or something like that. So I'll make like 100 of them at the beginning of the season, and then I might make another 50 of them halfway through the season or whatever. Not now. We've converted all of our menus to one-page menus, one on either side. That are disposable. You give the menu to the member, they make their choices, and then you throw that fucking menu away. Which is a good idea for the COVID thing, but that means a good old Passive J is printing out a shitload of menus every day. Like instead of kicking out 50 lunch and 100 dinner every 2 or 3 months, I'm kicking out them every week. Sometimes I have to refill it twice a week. Instead of making 15 15 dessert menus that they use for the entire week, I made 100 for that they're going to use every week. So environmentally speaking, we don't give a fuck about the about the planet, but we are being pretty COVID safe.
Look at you being a good little secretary, Jay.
Yeah. I don't mind. It keeps me busy. The only thing I don't like about being busy is, as I mentioned before, I always have that feeling that I'm forgetting something and I'm fucking something up. And I fuck stuff up every goddamn day. There's just too much to be thrown at me. But my bosses are pretty understanding. They see the environment I work in. But it's interesting to see how the COVID stuff's working out. Most of the I'm and it's causing me grief for some of my fellow employees because it's my job to do the check-in shit. Unfortunately, I don't get to that job until at the same time as everybody else, which I think is silly. They're having me come in to check everybody else, but they don't have me come in like a half hour early to set up. And some of those people get there before me. There's been 2 or 3 times I went into my office because believe it or not, there is someone there earlier than me. One of the office people likes to come in and fucking crack a dawn because she hates the other people that she works with, and her job is not time dependent at all. So she gets all her work done and tries to get out of there before the fucking other office people are there. But that being the case, she opens up my office and then goes to the upstairs office. So I keep on walking in and find people checking themselves in. I'll walk in and like they got the thermostat and they're doing their own head. And they'll put it down. Then the next guy will pick it up and do his own head. I'm like, dude, you guys can't fucking do that. You're missing the whole point. You guys aren't allowed to touch that shit. You have to wait for me to check you in. And it's causing me problems with my fellow employees. They're like, "Rrr." I'm like, dude, I'm just doing my job, dude. I can't, I don't know what to tell you.
Sounds like you're getting a little bit of your fantasy of being, in power. You're almost like a cop there. You're the temperature cop.
I'm the temperature cop. They should just appreciate the fact that I don't have to do it rectally, because then we'd all have problems.
Oh God!
Except for, well, I don't know. Do you have? Well, I guess you've been fucking at home the entire time, so you haven't had to really deal with any workplace COVID safety things.
No, so actually, so this week they did open back up the office for anybody that wants to go in, like if they wanted to. And part of it is you like have to get a day pass, like you have to fill out paperwork, you know, having all the standard stuff of like, no, I don't have COVID. I haven't been around anybody that has COVID, blah, blah, blah. Then you get a temperature check, and then you get like this day pass, and you have to maintain, you know, social distancing. And if you're in any like meetings with other people, you'd have to wear a mask. So needless to say, nobody went back to the office this week. But it's a thing you could do if you really, really wanted to. The rest of us were not even thinking about it until after Labor Day.
Yeah. Yeah, and we have restrictions on guests. No guests, basically. If you're not a member, you can't be there. And our golf course is filled to fucking capacity with just members right now. I think they're so desperate to get out of their house after all this stuff. It's a funny thing. Because there's no of the whole COVID thing, there's really no daycare services running right now. No day camps, no like go away camps or anything like that.
I'd like to send you to a go away camp.
Well, that means that there is nobody to take care of all these kids that the rich people have. So for possibly the first time ever, some of them have to deal with their own children. So because of that, the golf course is filled to capacity with dads that want to get the fuck away from their families. And I'm making reservation after reservation for the pool because it's the only thing that they can find to do to shove their kids in. So I'm very popular as far as the pool reservations go. I'm just glad I'm not in charge of tee times because they're busy as fuck out there. And this is without any guests at all. Normally guests are a fairly big part of our day-to-day life.
It sounds like you really only have like the second tier rich people then, because really rich people, they all have illegal nannies.
Oh yeah, a whole bunch of them do, but not all of them. And some of them, while they can well afford them, they don't believe in spending money on that type of things. There's quite a few frugal rich people there. Hold on a second, I need a drink of refreshing water. Yes, very refreshing. I was right. You got to remember, rich people come in many different forms. And one that I see a lot of is the rich person that did not start out rich. They started out poor and they worked their way up to being rich. And the problem some of those rich people have is they can't lose the habits that made them rich. When they were poor, they scrimped and saved and and didn't spend whenever they didn't need to and all that good stuff. The end result of that is I once watched a gentleman worth $7 billion steal our newspaper on his way out the door.
Well, he just did that because he fucking could.
Right, and he did it on a regular basis. Basically, if he was in the clubhouse and that paper was still there, he was taking it on his way out. And clearly, that gentleman can afford his own newspaper. But he was just in the habit of not buying newspapers, and if he saw a free one, picking it up. I don't know. He's been a member. He was a member. He's passed away by now, but he was a member for like decades and decades and decades before I started working there. So God knows how long he's been stealing our newspaper. And when he died, someone else picked up the habit. It's fun right now. I watch 2 or 3 or 4 rich people try to beat each other out to be the one that steals the newspaper. The most sly one is a little old lady who'll walk in and then hide it underneath a seat cushion and then go eat her lunch and then come back and get it on the way out.
See, this has nothing to do with actually being frugal. These are just old people that give zero fucks.
And yes, Homelander, I did say 7 billion. I can't go into more detail than that really, because if I did, it'd be pretty easy to figure out who it was. So I don't know. Send me a message on the OG. I'll tell you about it. I just can't do it publicly.
Mel Gibson, obviously.
We haven't had very many celebrities at the country club because it's Michigan as opposed to California or even New York or someplace like that. But we do have a couple, and there's at least one I can talk about because he visited a lot of the country clubs. So me speaking on it won't be able to pin it down to where I work. Mark Wahlberg's been at our place fairly often because he's a big fan of golf, and apparently he's a big fan of Detroit. He started one of his shitty restaurants. I don't know if they're shitty. I just assume they are. Wahlburgers down in Detroit, and he's talked with Dan Gilbert, who's a big guy in Detroit real estate scene. And as such, and I think some other real estate people you got buddy with, and all of these various people take him to the various country clubs. So I know he's been at 3 or 4 of the big ones around here, in addition to ours. And so, but that's really where Kate Upton used to swim in our pool occasionally because she was friends with one of the members.
Did you ask Wahlberg if you could form a new school funky bunch?
Oh God, shit, dude! He's never gonna live that shit down, is he?
Well, the funny thing is more people
vibration.
More people remember him as Marky Mark than the guy that like committed a fucking hate crime, which he did that too.
Yeah, he did that too. Several of them, to be honest. But people grow, and I'm sure yada yada yada. I don't know. Maybe he's addressed it, but I've never heard him really get into saying how sorry he felt that he blinded that guy and all that good shit. Well, blinded him in one eye. Yeah.
Well, I mean, so that guy's no worse off than you.
Yeah, very true. Well, but it's not the type of country club to have a lot of celebrity people in it. It's mostly businessmen, lawyers, doctors, that kind of shit. But anyways, I'm sure you guys don't want to hear yet more shit about my boring job. Let's talk about my awesome job. This one. Oh, you know what I saw on Facebook? This fucking just cracked me up. Someone claimed that if animals are sad and stressed, when you kill them, it poisons the meat. And that's why people are emotional. That's what they said. That's what they posted. Actually, what they posted, and people wonder why they are emotional. This is one of the reasons.
Well, so this is one of the things that there is a sliver of truth in there.
Yes, there is. Yes, but go ahead.
Yeah, so like if you slaughter an animal and it ends up being in trauma before it passes, the meat does spoil a bit, and you're not going to get as good of meat. So it is going to taste worse, like shit like that. It has nothing to do with being emotional. It's not killing it quickly enough.
Right. And that's just the stress part. She also mentioned if they're sad, when you kill them, it will poison the meat. So you need to make sure that deer's been having a good day before you sneak up on and kill them. Because if the other cows have been making fun of that cow all day and it's been having a bad day and it's sad and you sneak up and kill it, it's still going to taste shitty. So you need to make sure the cows are having a great day before you slaughter them. Apparently.
Yeah, people are just stupid.
Speaking of stupid, okay, this one makes me angry. You guys liked Angry Jay yesterday. You're going to get a little bit more of them. One of my Facebook friends just let her 14-year-old Chihuahua get knocked up.
Like on purpose, or it just happened?
but by being a fucking idiot. A 14-year-old female dog that she never bothered to get fixed. They had all female Chihuahuas before that, and being a house dog, I still got my dogs fixed, but whatever. But then she got like an 8 or 9 month old Chihuahua puppy that was a boy, and sure enough, like 6 months later, her fucking 14-year-old Chihuahua was fucking pregnant, and that is so fucking irresponsible. It makes me angry in so many levels. We're not even talking about the puppies right now. We're talking about the fact that it's probably going to kill her fucking dog. A 14-year-old Chihuahua has no business having puppies. Yeah, they live a lot longer than the bigger breeds, but 14 is still getting pretty fucking old for a Chihuahua. So there's a good chance it's going to kill her Chihuahua. Then they're going to have a whole bunch of puppies. Let's just assume the Chihuahua survives to at least take care of them. In this world, you do not need more puppies. Do not fucking let your dogs get fucking pregnant. And oh God, I'm sorry. I don't know. What do you think about the situation?
Yeah, it's someone that probably shouldn't have animals. I'm not going to lose sleep on it either way.
No, the big thing for me is it's probably going to kill their dog. And it's a cute little Chihuahua, and fucking just through their irresponsibility and unwillingness to address something that is going to be a problem. It's going to be a problem. Your dog your 14-year-old Chihuahua is going in the heat. You know it. So you obviously, she's still fertile. You have a male dog in the house. Oh yeah, we took care of it the first time and kept him away, but the second time, we must have missed it. Fuck, dude.
Well, yeah, I just
right.
So the part of it I don't agree with is they should have gotten all the dogs fixed anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever, they're kind of ridiculous people to begin with. I'm assuming they probably got these dogs from a breeder.
I don't know where they got the other ones. I know the one that the boy one they got was a gift from somebody who couldn't keep it or something like that. That got directed to her because two of her other Chihuahuas that both died that year. Like one was 16 and one of them was 17 or something like that. And she was sad that she just had this one little dog left, so they basically found a Chihuahua for her. So which is good. She rescued it. She didn't buy it or anything like that. But obviously she should have had one of the two fixed.
Well, probably both, but anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway.
So more
Let's see, what else
depressing
we got?
news.
Oh, what's that?
So, did you hear about this school bus driver in New York that admitted to raping a 14-year-old?
No. Oh, Jesus. What's that all about besides the obvious?
Well, yeah. So that was a thing. You'll never guess how much jail time he got.
Oh, I don't think I'm going to like the answer, but go ahead.
None. Judge gave him
Fucking
10. Judge gave him 10 years of probation, and now he is a level 1 sex offender. And you might think of level 1 as being like, this guy has to report a ton of crazy shit. No, it's actually the most lax version where they don't even like publish all of your like address information and shit like that.
Really? Now, did I mention water's awesome? Now, is there, I don't think there could be any circumstances that makes that right, but is there something about this story that I don't know about that can even justify that? Because that sounds like a judge that doesn't want his job anymore.
No, this is a guy that took a 14-year-old that he was driving the bus for, got her drunk, and fucked her.
Oh, Jesus Christ. No, I don't know. What's the work? See, I get pissed off about, people being, the cops and, and I do like our legal system for the most part. I'm not saying it's perfect at all, but I think we do need a legal system. It can't be anarchy. I need people to protect me, if nothing else. But then you hear about judges doing that, and it completely justifies the shitty opinion that people have of the entire justice system. How can you trust the system to do you right when they can't even get that right?
Yeah, there needs to be some sort of oversight. No, I still don't agree with mandatory minimums. I would agree with having some sort of review board or whatever that would take a look at something like this and be like, yeah, you're just not a judge anymore.
Yeah. Did you see Richard Gere was talking about Chris D'Elia? I might have his name wrong. He's in trouble right now. Yeah, D'Elia. Did you hear anything about this?
Yeah, apparently there's a whole bunch of like tweets and shit going around that like he was trying to hook up with like 16 and 17-year-olds, mainly like random like Instagram model chicks.
Right.
Like trying to fly them out to like, LA and shit like that.
Right. And ironically, apparently he's played a pedophile in a couple different shows. And one of them he's a stand-up comic that was a pedophile, which is fucked up. But what he's doing isn't really should not be addressed called pedophile, because that's young, because that's kids, and obviously he's not interested in kids if he's chasing after 16, 17, and 18-year-olds. And I'm going to defend a guy that sounds actually like a fucking scumbag, but he might not have did anything illegal, or at least knowingly illegal. Lots of 16, 17, 18-year-olds look like they're of legal age. In some states, they are legal age.
So multiple of these are on Instagram and had their age on their Instagram.
Oh, well, see, there you go. There goes that defense. Because I was just assuming that he didn't know how old they were. So unless he's checking looking up their fucking, their state laws on what the legal age of consent is every time he sends someone, this bullshit that he was sending, then yeah, he's fucking probably like not only a scumbag, he's also probably breaking the law as well. Because people are like, oh, age of consent 16. I'm like, that varies from state to state. And in a lot of states, the age of consent's only 16 if you're 18 or under. That's basically, they made it 16 so that fucking 17-year-olds didn't go to jail, or 18-year-olds didn't go to jail for having sex with 16-year-olds. That's how it is in Michigan. I believe the age of consent is 16, but only if you're 18 or under. So if you're 21 and you fuck a 16-year-old, you're going to jail.
Yeah, this is why I just check the ID of anyone I think is possibly under 25.
Yeah, and isn't that fucked up? Now, this is one of the things that upset me. I've heard cases where where women had fake IDs, like they're under 18, they were like 16, but they had or 17, but they had an ID that said they were 22 or something like that. A guy ends up having sex with them. It gets found out through one method or another, and then he actually goes to jail because apparently a fake ID is not a defense in the legal system.
Well, no, a good fake ID does not come around very often. Maybe it's just me being jaded to the fact that like I've worked as security at places that I've had to check IDs, but like a good fake ID is a very rare thing. Like more than likely that fake ID she had was for a 48-year-old named Ron.
Yeah. And of course, these are all anecdotal, a word I can't say. I just remember hearing that before, or maybe having someone tell me that before. Who knows if it's actually fucking true? But I've heard enough times that I'm sure it's happened at least once or twice. But I've never had that problem. You know, no women of that age group are interested in me. I couldn't commit that crime if I tried all fucking day. So I guess it's not something I should be worried about. That dude's probably did enough shitty. I don't know. See, but on the other hand, his career is obviously fucking tanked. And I suppose that's good, because if he knew they were underage and he was doing creepy things to him, obviously that makes him not a good person.
Well, yeah, he was fucking driving a school bus, and that's where he picked her up. Are you talking to Leah now?
Yeah, to Leah now.
Okay.
I'm sorry, my apologies. I should have been more specific.
I was thinking the career thing, because he's a comic. Like, it takes a lot to lose a career as a comic.
Yeah. It looks like they got a good start on it though, so we'll have to see in the next couple of days. I don't know what shows or stuff he's associated with, so I don't know who to expect to start canceling him. But this cancel culture thing really concerns me. It seems like it's so out of control that lots of people are in danger that really have done nothing wrong. It's just that they're the latest target, and so many people have said stupid shit over the course of their life that almost anybody could be a target if someone digs hard enough.
Well, so along those lines, did you see the latest victims of cancel culture?
Oh, what's that, sir?
Aunt Jemima, Mrs. Buttersworth, and Uncle Ben. They're all going to be changed.
Jesus, really, I hadn't heard about the Mrs. Butterworth, but I'd heard about the Aunt Jemima, and just like in the last hour or so, someone talked about Uncle Ben getting canceled too. And first things first, if they're going to change Uncle Ben, I insist they keep the same name and just put a picture of Spider-Man's uncle on there.
No.
Dude, the marketing for that would be amazing. Have Spider-Man webbing all behind him, just have a picture of Uncle Ben from the fucking movie. Dude, it's perfect. I tell you, I'm a genius.
I think they just should completely swing the other way and go with Uncle Benjamin and have it be a super stereotypical Mexican guy.
Yeah, that might not work. But I don't understand. I mean, it's I don't know. I guess because they're symbols that were from when they were slaves or something like that. Because I don't think there's anything inherently racist about naming a maple syrup after a black woman and using her image. I assume it's, like I said, I haven't done any research on where they got their mascots, symbols, whatever you want to call them from. I'm assuming something like that. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any fuss at all. But really, but in this case, they're not really symbolizing that. Like when you say Uncle Ben, the very first thing I think is fucking rice. Not racist shit, or Uncle Ben was, a slave in the South. I think rice. They've done a really good job of associating Uncle Ben with rice and Aunt Jemima with syrup. So I don't know, but it's not my feelings being hurt. So I guess I really can't say too much about it.
Yeah, it's just one of those things. I mean, come on. Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima and Mrs. Buttersworth. Christ.
Yeah. I don't know. Does that mean like you're not allowed to use black people for marketing anymore?
If that's the case, Air Jordan is fucked.
I know. Because that's racist. You got a picture of a black guy jumping on the back of all your shoes. Are you trying to say all black guys can jump high? That's fucking racist. Let's cancel Nike. Or Jordans, rather.
Well, just think of trying to release the movie White Men Can't Jump today.
Oh, fuck. That would be, shit. You can't even release White Girls right now. Which I thought was I never watched it. It looked like it was a horrible movie. You know the one I'm talking about?
That was one of the Wayans brothers movies, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So it absolutely was probably shit. Unless you're talking about Major Payne.
Oh fuck, that was a fucking great movie. That was that guy's. I can't remember the guy's name. That was his very best role, as far as I'm concerned.
Was he Damon?
I think that
Was that the
Damon. Yeah, I
Wayman?
think
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of Wayanses.
yeah. Ironically enough, when they first started doing In Living Color, it was the oldest one that was the most famous, and basically he got all of his brothers and sisters on the show with him.
That
But
was Keenan Ivory, right?
Yeah, I believe so. But in the long run, his younger brothers had way better careers than he did. That was about the only thing he ever did after was In Living Color.
He was in some movie, wasn't he? Yeah, I can't remember
Was
what the
he?
fuck it was. He had, I think he had at least one movie that he was the, quote unquote star.
Right, right. Man, that was such a good show. In Living Color, I mean, I'm sure I'm looking back at it with rose-colored glasses, but I remember it being way funnier than Saturday Night Live ever was, or pretty much any. It beat the piss out of any of those type of shows.
Exactly. Yeah, In Living Color was the best of that bunch. It's just they were only around for like 3 seasons or something.
Yeah, I mean, look at how many people it gave us. We're not even going to mention the Fly Girls, which gave us Jennifer Lopez. But there is Damon Wayans. Fucking, I'm going to draw a blank because all I can recall now is Damon Wayans and Jim Carrey. But there's 3 or 4 other like big names that came out of that as well.
Well, you can't forget Jamie Foxx.
There you go, Jamie Foxx. Yep, he was big out of there. Plus, I believe
David Alan Grier.
Yeah, there you go. David Alan Grier, he's a big one. Plus, I believe another one of the Wayans brothers after Damon had a fairly good career as well.
Yeah, there were several Wayanses.
Yeah, yeah. So a couple more than we really needed, but it's a package deal. Yeah, Sean and Ron. There you go. Yeah. So there's so many. I mean, it was a big show. Speaking of that type of show, it's funny. People always tell me now, it's like, oh, Saturday Night Live sucks. I remember it was good one at such and such time, but it sucks now. And I tell them, I was like, here's the honest to God truth. Saturday Night Live has always sucked, and it will always suck. Here's the thing. You're looking back on those seasons that you remember were like, you remember, Eddie Murphy doing the Mr. Robinson thing or the Gumby thing. Or you remember John Belushi doing the samurai thing, or whatever cool things that you remember. You don't remember the 5 or 6 bullshit skits in between the 2 good ones that night. You just remember the cool ones. So when people look back on Saturday Night Live, like, oh, this shit's all good, awesome. I'm like, no, it always mostly sucked with 1 or 2 good bits every night.
Yeah, they had some pretty good casts there for a while.
Yes,
like you start talking
really,
like the point where they had Farley and they had Sandler. Will Ferrell was a fucking monster. Like they had a good run.
Yeah, but even those would only have 2 or 3. They were just really, really good bits. But those would have a whole bunch of shit in them too. And don't get me wrong, I look back on some of that with really fond memories. I remember when Mike Myers was on Saturday Night Live. I loved a lot of his skits. He did something called Lothar of the Hill People. I am Lothar of the Hill People, and that's just all. It was just them talking like that for fucking 3 or 4 minutes, in different skits, and then for some reason all that cracked me up. Probably quite similar, probably because it was quite similar to Phil Hartman's Caveman Lawyer. God, I love that fucking skit.
Phil Hartman,
man. I'm sure
that sucked. He had to go and die.
Oh yeah, I know. Lots of people blame Philip Dick for that as well, or Andy Dick rather. Not Philip Dick, he's a writer. But yeah, a lot of people blame Andy Dick for that shit.
Why?
Supposedly Phil Hartman's wife had a pretty bad drug problem, and it seemed to make her mental issues worse. So she was trying to get herself clean, and supposedly Andy Dick was the one that got her to break her sobriety and get back into drugs. So the story goes.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Right. Well, there's people in Hollywood that, like John Lovitz, and I think a couple other people, pretty much blame Andy Dick for it. But that doesn't necessarily mean it's his fault. But
yeah, speaking of weird conspiracy theories, did you see the story that in Birmingham, officials found multiple nooses hanging from trees?
Really?
And the police came out and said that nobody should be worried.
What are they, just practice nooses? Nothing to worry about?
Sergeant Malden actually came out and made an official statement that these nooses were not for malicious purposes or to incite fear in the black community.
Oh, that's good to know. I'm glad he. So he's saying he's the one that hung him up, right? Because obviously only the people that hung him up knew what they were fucking for. So that's kind of a interesting statement to say. I wonder if that's related. I just barely heard the story about a couple black guys getting hung.
Well, no.
found
So
hung
this
in trees like a week
this
or two
actually
apart.
goes more to the conspiracy theory side. So, like in the
what's
last
that?
week, you've had 4 or 5 black people that have been hung from trees, and every single one of them has been ruled a suicide.
Huh.
Now, think of the crazy shit that, like, even people on the OG are throwing their weight behind. Like, there are threads out there that people claim that COVID was hatched by the Democrats and released on the world to make Trump look bad. There's the conspiracy theory that that old dude that got shoved by the Buffalo police had like a blood pack and never even got hurt, and he's actually, I think, still in the hospital. You have people that think the SpaceX launch didn't actually happen. But for some reason, you don't see a conspiracy theory coming out and saying, hey, there's 4 or 5 black people that were found dead hanging. Maybe there was foul play involved.
Yeah, there's such, I believe the term is willfully ignorant. People will believe what they want to believe, and I've seen that on the OG quite a bit. It's such a weird place. My Facebook leans so much more liberal than the OG does, so it's almost like visiting 2 different worlds. So I'll go on my Facebook, and almost universally they'll have the same opinion on something. Then I'll go to the OG, and almost universally it will be the exact opposite opinion, which makes me think that a lot of my friends are fairly liberal and the OG's pretty conservative. And I land right in the middle. So for the most part, I just don't say shit to anybody about it, because we've had that conversation before. You're not going to change anybody's mind arguing on the internet. You're just wasting your time.
This is why I support what Jocko Willenick ended up saying on Rogan.
What's that?
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson needs to announce that he is running as an independent candidate for the presidency this year. And he would fucking win in a landslide.
He probably would. Hey, Dragoff, you said the word is hanged, bros, not hung. I can't say I'm well hanged, so I might be using the word wrong, but I'm
It technically is right, but we always say that.
yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. I don't know. I don't know if he'd be a good president or not. He seems like a nice person, but I don't know if that qualifies you to be a good president. I mean,
well, if we're just taking like take a look at the last guy we elected, right? He was good at business.
Yeah.
The Rock's very good at business. Doesn't have a bunch of bankruptcies or anything either. Comfortable in front of a camera. Definitely has that in spades. Everybody knows him from TV. Again, checks that box. Like, I think this would be the guy that, yes, you would still have your far left and your far right that would vote for Trump and Biden, but like, this is the guy that anybody that has any sort of centrist anything could get behind and be like, these other 2 candidates are fucking terrible. Like, out of 300 million people, these are the 2 that we have that were like, yeah, these guys could run the planet.
Well, and realistically speaking, if he was going to do that, he should have done it like 6 months ago at the very least. There's like 3 months until the election. He doesn't have a chance to get any momentum going. Not that he needs a lot, but I don't think he could pull it off if he tried it now. But if he would have started like a year ago, he is a very popular fella. I don't know. I don't. You're right. There would be people that vote for Trump or Biden, no matter what the third choice was. But he might get enough of the people in the middle. He's very likable. I'm sure he pulls very high on popular celebrities. I just think that's a horrible idea, and I think we should get away from having people that have nothing to do with politics take over the highest office. There's something to be said for working your way up to it. People say there's a lot of corruption in politics, and things like that, and I'm sure there is. But there's also something to be said about understanding how politics works on many different levels before you're given the most important job in politics.
I think we just need someone that is not going to play a political game. You really need to, and like, this is the thing that we need to course correct. Like, over the last actually the last essentially 3 elections, let's basically call it, right? So we had Obama go into office, which caused the right to go way further right. And then he won again. And then we had super far right. Then Trump finds a way to win. And what does the left do? The same thing that the right did. Now you have this super far left and you have this super far right. And look what we did. We brought Biden back out. And people are still digging in their heels with Trump. Like, we're going in 2 completely opposite directions where we need someone to step in and be like, okay, the far left is fucking retarded. The far right is fucking retarded. So you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to have these thoughts that some are a little bit conservative, some are a little bit liberal, but they make fucking sense. I'm going to talk to both sides and actually lead. You don't lead by only listening to one fucking side's opinion.
Well, yeah, but unfortunately, we're not going to get a person like that. Yeah.
And Steven, I'm not arguing for The Rock because he's cool. It's just someone like that would be the only one that can walk in and could be a truly like independent running candidate and have any chance in hell.
You know, seriously speaking, if I was going to pick a celebrity to be president, and I've thought about this before, I would pick Mike Rowe. Are you familiar with the gentleman?
Not enough to know like how he thinks.
Well, keep in mind he created the show Dirty Jobs himself.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah. He did Dirty Jobs. And I'm sure I think he's probably fairly conservative, but I like how he thinks about a lot of things. He's very much a doer, not a sayer. One of the things he's talked about before is he thinks that, you know, the fact that trade schools and working with your hands is going away. He thinks that's a horrible idea. He's also a big fan of the little guy and them having the correct representation because, you know, he's done all these jobs and worked with all these people. He's very much in touch with the people and, you know, the way they think, as opposed to, you know, being associated with the rich people all the time. So I think, you know, I don't know. I'd have, if I was going to seriously do it, I'd have to look a lot harder into his politics and what he thinks about various things. But just offhand, he seems like the type of person that would be a good for a president.
Yeah, I don't know about that one. I don't know about that guy. But regardless, like, we need something better. Like, we are literally having the South Park election this cycle.
And I don't do politics that much. I have my problems with Trump, and I think there's some things he's done rather well. But I had to laugh. My wife's a big fan of Trump, and she's watching him announce stuff. Do his talk yesterday because he announced some shit, and she was like, oh. I'm like, what? She goes, I like what he's saying, but he sounds like a fucking idiot saying it. She goes, I wish he didn't sound like a fucking imbecile when he spoke because I like his ideas and what he's doing. I'm like, goddamn, dude. I was like, that's an interesting way to put it.
Well, I mean, we're choosing between just a serial narcissistic, like, compulsive liar who is morbidly obese at over 70 years of age against a guy that's probably going senile. Like, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, we don't have good choices right now. You know what? Maybe those anarchy people have something going on, right? You know, I've often said the only good thing about our way of government is it's the best thing around. You know, it just sucks less than the other methods. That doesn't make it great. But speaking of politics, did you hear that North Korea blew up an inter-liaison office between them and South Korea the other day?
Yeah, I heard about that. I wonder what pissed them off again.
Oh, I know. Apparently, there's a group of South Koreans, or actually North Koreans, that have fled to South Korea. They've been printing pamphlets and trying to distribute them across the border, mostly by wind, I would assume. So, and North Korea is pissed off about their doing that, so they've cut off all relationships with South Korea because I guess they think that it's the government's idea rather than these groups. and they're pretty fucking serious about it. So there's another thing going on. North Korea and South Korea relations are gone to shit really quickly, because we needed that going on over there, right?
Yeah, North Korea is just that fucking. It's that kid throwing a tantrum that actually isn't truly a threat to anyone.
Yes and no. I don't think they're a threat to us military. They can't get to us. I don't think any of their bombs can get to us. They do supposedly have like a 7,000 person cyber army that could fuck with our ship pretty well if they directed it at us. If nothing else, it's not hard to get technology. So, they have all the money they want to spend on that. And if they got 7,000 people doing that shit, they can fuck up a lot of stuff. But I feel more sorry for the South Koreans, because if North Korea decides that they want to fuck with South Korea, their military is just fine for that. And the odds are even if we did get involved to stop it, it wouldn't be until there's a lot of shit going down over there. And from everything I can understand, South Koreans are cool people. I don't want bad shit to happen to them. So hearing about that made me a little bit bummed out.
Yeah, I just still think they're the tantruming child. Like, I don't really think much of North Korea at all.
Yeah. Apparently China and India are at war now. I haven't looked at this at all, but that's what like the rumors I hear coming around, like threads and shit like that. Have you looked into that at all?
I saw something about some like Indian troops or something like ended up in China or killed someone or yeah, Homelander, three soldiers killed. Yeah, I saw the headline. I didn't actually read it. I was actually kind of surprised that India had any sort of like, military presence.
I believe they do. India is actually, more of more of an advanced country in certain ways. Yeah, they've got a lot of their spots that are not great, but I believe they have their own, their own military force. They might even have an air force as well, in addition to like ground troops.
Yeah, I knew they had nuclear capability, but like I didn't know they had like an actual like true military force. I thought they were all, just gonna call China and tell them about, extended warranties that they can get on their computers.
No, I'm pretty sure they got a pretty good one. I think I remember reading about that someplace. They probably have considering where they are geographically speaking, it's probably in their best interest to have a pretty good military, because not just China, that entire region has a history of unrest. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if they have a pretty good military. Not good enough to fuck with China, obviously, because basically the only thing that's stopping China from taking over the entire fucking world is the United States and Russia. If we were gone, China would own this bitch tomorrow.
I don't necessarily know about that.
Well,
yeah, they got
a lot of fucking people.
Well, yeah, they got a lot of people, but then like think about a war between India and China. Like all you got to do is just give everybody a pointy stick and tell them to run at each other, and there's your war.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but
a billion people on each side just running at each other with pointy sticks.
Yeah,
go old school.
I'm sure China's military is way bigger than India's. They have way more resources. India is a really prosperous country in certain regards compared to a lot of the ones in the area, but they can't match China for resources. It would just be a matter of time, before China just blotted them the fuck out.
Well, you know why they can't compete with China for resources? Because of corporations in the U.S. Because we decided somewhere a while ago that squeezing a little bit more profit out of that iPhone means that we got to do that shit in China instead of here.
Yep. Yeah, and so many companies have done that. American companies, like Apple's an American company, obviously, but their shit's made in China. God, there's not a fucking phone made in the United States, I don't think. And and you can say the same thing about so many different electronic products. There's so few of that shit.
Well, it's anything. It's all manufacturing. It's the reason Detroit went to shit. The fact that now we have all of our, production plants, 10 miles across the border in Mexico.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. And obviously, all the auto companies still have a presence in Detroit, but until recently, none of them actually did any manufacturing in Detroit anymore. I think a new company just announced that they're going to build an auto plant in Detroit, Rivian or something like that. I think it's an electric truck company. But it was a big deal because it will be the first actual vehicle manufactured in the Detroit borders in so many decades. And that killed so many cities here in Detroit, in the Michigan area. It wasn't just Detroit. Pontiac, if the name sounds familiar, like Pontiac Grand Am, because that's, or Grand Prix, or all those different, the entire Pontiac brand was because of this city, the city of Pontiac, which was named after an Indian chief. And that city's fucking trash now because all of those, and there's a ton of them, all these manufacturing plants and things like that moved out, sat empty and abandoned, eventually went into disrepair. All kinds of ground things are poisoned because fucking, they, back in the 40s and 50s, they didn't have the EPA to stop them from fucking up the ground. So you can't even use this shit without spending millions of dollars on, I can't remember the name for it, for decontaminating the area. Flint, same deal. That's the big three of the cities in Michigan that were fucked by the auto companies leaving.
But that's the thing. Like, we brought this upon ourselves, and everybody wants to fucking scream at the top of the mountain that free market and our system of publicly traded companies is absolutely the best way to do things. And I'm sorry, you're fucking wrong. And the reason that you're wrong is that publicly traded companies put profit over everything. They literally do. Otherwise, they're going to get voted out by their shareholders because the shareholders only care about those shares going up. And you know what they do? They decide that car, if I can save $20 on manufacturing by shipping it overseas and not having people employed in the US, I'm going to do it because employees are an expense. And they keep me from having a 14% ROI versus a 10%.
Right. Yep. And the issue being that once one company started doing it, the rest of them had to. You can't charge $20,000 for a car when your competitor's charging $10,000 for it or $15,000 for it because they're building it in Mexico and you're building it here in the United States. It's an unfair advantage. So the system of being able to do that, of course, made it so that everyone did that because otherwise you're not being competitive with the other companies. So once it started happening, it was just like a cycle that went faster and faster and faster as all these companies realized that's what they had to do to compete.
And it's not just, obviously, the auto industry. It's all manufacturing. And this is what happens. This is what happens when you have everything publicly traded and the only thing that matters is return on equity to your shareholders. Because at that point, you stop caring about the people that build your company because, again, those employees are simply expenses to the bottom line. And giving people a good wage or a good living, you don't give a shit. All you care about is shareholders. And people will say, well, most workers, they have shares in the company, so it's their best interest for it to go up too. Not really. I'm in a pretty good position that I have a decent portfolio. I could probably retire by like the age of 50 if I wanted to. But that's not everybody's reality. And especially the reality of the people whose jobs keep getting pushed overseas and profits get pushed overseas because they can get cheap as fuck labor, and their shareholders are just fine with it because their stock price goes up.
Yep. Now, of course, there is a flip side to that, and that is unions here in Michigan. I believe in unions. I think they're a good thing, but they've also put themselves in a position where they almost price themselves out of work sometimes. Because of all the regulations and, union people have to get paid this much, union people get this, union people get that. In certain cases, it's not feasible anymore. Like, you can't pay someone like this much money and give them full benefits and give them a full pension and give them all the stuff that they've been expecting because that's what they always got. I know a whole bunch of people that still work in the few auto plants around here. There's an auto plant in Lake Orion, which is maybe 10 miles north of me. And, I have a lot of people that work there, and some of the benefits they get just fucking amaze me. And while, don't get me wrong, obviously a union's a good thing. In certain cases, I'm like, I understand why they don't have that many manufacturing jobs here in Michigan anymore. They can't fucking afford them.
But there's also just the entire middle class that's shrinking and going away because there's not those manufacturing jobs. There's not those other positions out there. And you'll have these... And I don't want to pick on people being conservative versus liberals, but generally it's one side that's talking about things like well, there should be no minimum wage and shit like that. And like, if you want to do well, you just, pull yourself up by those bootstraps. But the problem is we're seeing this right now with COVID and everything else. There's a gigantic portion of this country who works their ass off. But if something goes wrong 1 month in of not being able to do something, all of a sudden they can't fucking pay for a roof over their heads. I'm sorry, that's not a great economy. It may be propped up by lowering taxes and increasing government spending so more people are on the government tit, but sorry, it exposes that we're pretty much a goddamn house of cards.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. If it wasn't for the bonus they threw in unemployment, I'd be in so much shit right now. I'm always 2 months from losing my fucking house, and I work hard, relatively speaking. I put hours in. People on the OG like to make fun of me, call me part time because I don't work part of the season. But the part of the year I work fucking hard. I put in 66 hours last fucking week. How many of these assholes that call me a lazy fucker every week do that? And don't get me wrong, that's not something to be proud of. Lots of people put in ridiculous hours every week, not just me. But some of these people, I'm like, really, dude? You don't understand how fucking shit works. And so that being the case, I myself am not in a financially secure spot. If I'm 2 months from losing my house, or at least not being able to pay shit, like if I wasn't able to work for a couple months, it would be a pretty fucking bad situation. And as you mentioned, a lot of the countries like that. It's not just me. I think they said more people than not are 2 or 3 paychecks from being in fucking trouble.
Even the businesses are. Look at all the businesses that fucking go under because they are conditioned that they cannot have any sort of rainy day fund because, again, a lot of it is publicly traded, and if you have too much sitting there as far as cash reserves on a balance sheet, that stock's not going to go up that extra dollar.
Yep, it's sad. I don't know. And there's no quick solution to it, and we're certainly not going to figure it out here on the show. So why don't we go ahead and wrap it up for today? I want to thank the OG Army for showing up. We can't do a show without you guys. I also want to thank my co-host, Big Dalton. I couldn't do a show without him, and he could probably do one without me. What do you got there, Big Dalton?
A couple things. Just want to say again out there for anybody that may be listening at the end of a bar that is somehow offended by the word fuck, well, fuck you, sir, you fucking fuck. And other than that, I mean, I should probably also just extend that to the rest of anyone in existence that ever hears this by saying, fuck all y'all.
Everybody have a great night. We'll see you tomorrow at 6.
Get some Band-Aids for that butthole.
Screw you, hippie!